It's time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 32. We're recording this live between Asif and I. We are live together at the same time on one sunny, hot July 3rd afternoon. That's Sunday afternoon. We're back to our regular schedule. Joining me always, 31 consecutive weeks, now 32 consecutive weeks, is Asif Khan from
the Location-Based Marketing Association.
That's right, at thelbma.com. Of course, my name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv or at Rob Woodbridge. You can find Asif at the LBMA or at Asif R. Khan on the Twitter. And this, just to remind you, is that show that you come to rely on every week for the news that matters in the location-based marketing world. And as usual, we have a ton of stuff. We're going to be talking about a couple of new companies, a couple of companies launching in new cities, some milestones and numbers, some big funding numbers, some IPO news, and of course, we're going to talk about our resource of the week coming from Juniper Research, not Jupiter. Juniper, not to be mistaken.
Juniper, yeah. And for once, we're not talking about Foursquare or Scavenger this week. There you go. Hey.
Well, that'll change. I'll bring it in somehow. Like, you keep talking. I'm going to research something on these two guys.
All right.
Asif, first off, busy week for you coming up? Are you actually in the country?
I'm in the country. I'm actually, this is, the whole month of July is, I'm taking it slow. I'm around this week, just regular meetings this week, and then I'm on holiday for a couple weeks. So
that is amazing. Well, I'm glad.
Yes.
I'm glad to have you here. I'm sure your family is as well, but this is what it's like. The LBMA is a startup, and it has the startup hours, doesn't it?
It does, indeed.
All right, well, let's jump right into this. Our first story. Because the spelling has been taken, I'm sure. Let's talk about this company called VidApp. This is a pretty cool little tool.
Yeah, so VidApp is a new product out there. It's iPhone only, and basically it's the typical kind of deal finder discount application that we've seen a lot of out there. But it's going after, in particular, the student population, the university population, and what they've done is they basically said, look, we all have these programs we belong to through our credit cards, through our student ID, at university, through our bus pass, whatever it is. All of these cards that we have offer us discounts on many things, and often we're not taking advantage of the discounts that are available to us, or we just forget about them. And so this app basically lets you associate all those programs that you already belong to an app, and then it sends you reminders as you're kind of going about your daily life and you walk by those particular retailers or have an opportunity to take advantage of that offer. So,
I mean, this is really like a location-based coupon to-do list sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this great? Like, so when I'm in a store that accepts like, any of these, what was the one that they had there? If you are at a store and you have like a AAA card, or you get a student discount or something like that, it'll remind you if you're in that store that, hey, listen, don't forget to use your AAA card or your student card for your discount.
Exactly.
It's useful, but it's a feature of another product, I would say.
Yeah, to me, it's not a product unto itself. I completely agree with that statement. And yet, I see huge utility in this. I mean, we all belong to these different programs, and we don't always remember, to kind of take advantage of that added value that comes with that program. So I like it. I like the functionality. I like the utility of it. But like you, I think it's a feature.
So this is something that that Groupon is doing with their location-aware real-time couponing.
Yes, Groupon Now.
Yeah, Groupon Now.
Which, by the way, just to make reference to that, although we're not going to talk about Groupon Now this week, is they did expand Groupon Now this week into, I believe, Austin and Detroit as well.
Wow. So
they
should follow where the recession is still hitting home. That's where they should be launching. So Austin, maybe not, but Detroit, maybe. When it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
actually, I think San Diego. Now that I think about it again, too. So I think those are the 3 new cities.
Well, there you go. See.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because we only promised that we're not going to talk about Foursquare and Scavenger.
Right, so we can talk about Groupon.
Groupon's fine, because we're going to hit Groupon when we start talking about LivingSocial, I'm sure.
And the only thing that jumped in my mind when I was reading about VidApp, and by the way, if you're just listening, it's VIDAPPE, pronounced VidApp, is you might remember several episodes ago, I think around episode 16, 17, somewhere around there, we talked about an app called You Promise from Sally Mae.
Yep. Liked it.
And this was an app, again, targeted at university students, going and making the purchases that they make every day at local retailers, and getting a kickback on those purchases in the form of tuition credits or dollars that basically can be used, as a bursary or grant, against tuition from Sallie Mae. And so the thing that jumped in my mind is these guys should hook up, because they're going after the same sort of things. And maybe there's a kind of a wider user base there. Maybe VidApp could team up with the Sallie Mae guys and layer this into the uPromise app.
I don't want to beleaguer the VidApp, our first story. I don't want to drag this on, but I always wonder about how big of a living can a company like this make? Or, we've seen a lot of these examples of companies that are just they seem to be very local. We're going to talk about, this next one, which is LoDote, but how can these guys, can they make a living? Is this a big business play, or is this just a race to an acquisition?
I honestly don't see it for VidApp, but like I said, I think there's a lot of other companies they could team up with and just kind of layer this service on. And I would start with the uPromise guys, Sallie Mae and uPromise.
Yeah, there's some advice. VidApp, VIDAPP.
That's why I'm here. I'm all about the advice.
All about the free advice.
If only I could get a few cents for it, but hey.
Put your quarter in.
Yeah.
Right? And you pull the lever, you get some advice. VidApp. VidApp.com. VADAPPE.com. Second story. Oh, I just mentioned it. I blew it. It's a site or a company called LoDote.
LoDote.
Yeah. And these guys just launched in Philly. As with a lot of these companies, this is the first time I've heard of a lot of these companies like LoDote. Mm-hmm. So maybe give an overview of what LoDote is. They say that it's a mashup between local and anecdote.
Yes.
Kind of describes it.
So basically, it's being launched in Philadelphia, and obviously it's being launched this weekend in time for the 4th of July celebrations in the U.S. And so what it is, it's kind of like a little bit of broadcaster. Basically audio clips that are tied to historical places in the city of in the old city of Philadelphia. And so, as you're touring, and Philadelphia is one of those cities where it's always on the top 10 lists of, best cities, best walking tours, best places to go in the U.S. for
most
family
historical
vacations,
city,
etc. Because there's so much history there. There's so much to see.
Rocky.
And so what these guys have done is they built this thing called LoDote, and they've kind of recorded 150 audio clips that you can, as you're walking around, you can kind of learn and listen to little audio clips of what's the history of that particular thing that you're looking at, or that particular building that you're walking into. The neat thing about it, what's a little bit different about it, what I like about it is that you can tie it. It's got this option that you can tie it to your iTunes music. So let's say you're walking around with your headphones on and you're listening to whatever your favorite music is. If you've got this app running in the background, as you walk into a historical place, it actually interrupts the music and then serves you the audio clip. And then as you leave, it then starts your music up again. So it's got this kind of fade in, fade out as you're walking around. So you don't actually have to have the thing there all the time. You can still be enjoying the music that you like.
I like it. Like I like broadcaster as well, because it's it's audio that's created on the fly by people, and it can be a historical moment for like a global historic moment, like you find in Philadelphia, or it could be like a local historic moment like you'd find on your street corner. My first lemonade stand was right here, and I can see that as a great curation vehicle for me to tell the story to my kids. Right? I think that this is a really interesting play, as long as the companies survive.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of merit to this kind of tourism based application.
Totally agree.
Huge value all over the globe. What I'd like to see with these things is kind of the next wave of apps of this nature. To me, are that contextual type of app where instead of me having to already know about the app and have downloaded the app and all of that kind of stuff, using push notifications and things like that. As I walk into an area, even if I don't have the app, you should basically be able to push me something that says, hey, you've just walked into the old city of Philadelphia historical district. There's an app available that can help you understand the history while you're here. Would you like to get it now? So if we can get to that layer on top of this, then I think you've got a lot of power, because otherwise you're just relying on a user base that's kind of organically growing because people hear about it or hear about it on shows like this or whatever.
It's hard to grow these things organically. There's a company in Ottawa called Tristan Interactive that does this for museum tours, curated museum tours, and they're doing Smithsonian. They're doing some great work. And the platform they build is ultimately the same kind of deal as this, and broadcasters that you could do like the Haunted Walk or the Byward Market tour. I think that's great. I gave one idea when I interviewed broadcaster for Untether.tv. I gave one idea to the guys over at VaynerMedia who are doing Gary Vaynerchuk's Wine Library or the Daily Grape app. And I said they should be using broadcaster to walk in and do a winery tour and have it curated by Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So he walks in. So when you get you can buy it or whatever it is, but you go to a winery and it's like Gary coming on saying, "Hey, it's Gary Vaynerchuk," and he walks through his the history of the winery, and I think that kind of use of this stuff.
Yeah,
incredible.
Lots of value in curated content. I mean, huge value in delivering location-based curated content.
Yeah, love it.
So that's LoDote.
LoDote, LOKADOT.com. LoDote.
Yeah.
Great. I love to see this kind of technology. Hopefully it flourishes. But you're right. It needs the support, big support, to create awareness, or else it's just a numbers game. Third story. Well, I don't know if you're going to avoid this. I mean, what's the rage since last Tuesday? Isn't it like this thing called Google Plus, which is different than Google Plus One? And then they announced this thing called Pool Party, but they don't announce it, but they do, but it is, but it isn't. It's like
it's typical Google. Hey, let's just throw something out there and then pull it back and see what people say. Deny,
and then embrace if people like it. Deny
that. I'll start with the Pool Party. Pool Party is interesting. Basically, it's a photo sharing, uploading system. So lets users upload photos from their smartphones to albums in real time. And the difference here is that multiple users can upload to the same album. So it's kind of group albuming. Unlike Facebook, where you upload it to your own album. Here, basically, multiple people can contribute to the same album. So if you're at a graduation, or you're at a pool party, or you're at a whatever, not to play the name too much, basically everybody can contribute, to that common album.
There's another company based out of the States, out of New York, called Trax, that does a similar thing where you're basically sharing. You're sharing by pictures an experience, a communal experience. So if you're on a trip, right, you're all contributing to one track. Ultimately, it's the same thing as kind of Google Pool Party. And is this worthwhile? There's also another company that called, or not a company, but With is another product that is launched by Path, the company, which is a similar kind of technology, which is like I'm taking a picture of you, or I'm with you, and I take a picture to commemorate that, and it becomes a communal stream. But so it seems like I don't understand how these technologies come in batches like this, where it's like somebody had a great idea 7 months ago, and the outcome is this all at the same time. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but I guess from a venture capital perspective, everybody wants to have a play in the same space, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of fed that way to some extent.
So is there anything? I mean, Pool Party is great because it ties in with Google Plus, which is kind of unlimited photo storage for their platform and through Google Plus as well. So this is a pretty unique piece of their social puzzle.
Yeah, and Google Plus itself is a little difficult to understand. I mean, it's some kind of broader social network strategy. Kind of go head to head with Facebook, which Google's been trying to do for some time now, and has had very limited success.
Yep.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see whether Plus and Pool Party and Plus One and all this stuff, is able to draw the people.
Well, whatever they do, whatever Google does with Google Plus, I mean, it's limited. It just seems like the elite of the elite are able to get in there and use it. And then,
even Pool Party right now it's invite only beta. So.
Well, it's hard to get the common man perspective when it's just the celebrities, Scoble and Vaynerchuk and all those guys using it. But one of the big things that has to happen here with Google Plus is that Google has to get this done on mobile properly, across the board. It's available on Android right now, for obviously to the select users, but they have to get this across the board to make it much more mobily focused as well. Because if you can't do that, social is mobile, and certainly Google Plus is their play on the social side. So, I mean, interesting.
I think the one big thing on Google Plus that is a feature. We originally when we heard about this, we thought it was going to be its own thing. But is this concept of circles, right?
Right.
So Google Plus has this thing called Circles, which is basically instead of you sharing and talking to all of your followers or all your friends from a Facebook perspective, you create these circles of close friends or groups, so to speak. And apparently, from what I've read, it's really easy to do this. It's kind of uses the geofencing concept of just kind of drawing circles around groups of people and kind of dropping them into buckets, as opposed to you having to pull up all your list of friends and saying this one, this one, this one, and this one, put them in this group. So apparently they've made that really, really easy. I haven't played with it myself. I don't have one of those invites, but
we'll take some.
Yeah, we'll take some. So there you go. Anyway, so that's Google Plus and Pool Party number 3.
More to come. More to come on that. I'm absolutely positive we'll be hearing a lot more about that. You'll get so Pool Partied out and Google Plussed out from the show. It'll be silly especially if it ties into their couponing and location marketing technologies. Number 4, just kind of an announcement, really. I had the great privilege of sitting down with Andrew Osis, who is the CEO of Poynt, and they just released a milestone.
Yeah, so basically Poynt, is still around, still growing. Canadian company based out of Calgary, and they announced this week that they've hit 7 million users. So that's, I would say, a pretty significant number. Yep. Poynt is still, their base is still very much, that RIM BlackBerry user group. But it's quite significant because a year ago March, by the way, they were at 2.5 million users, and so now we're at 7 million. So you could argue that the growth rate is not that dissimilar than Foursquare's in some respect, which I think is interesting. Revenue's up as well, so they reported this is first quarter revenue for 2011, 178% growth. So they went from 200,000 to about 500,000 in revenue now. So these guys are still struggling to some extent. I think on the financial side, they're still struggling with operating costs and balancing that against revenue. But they're there and they're growing, and people are still using it. 7
million people, which is great. And as you said, it's like their growth over the last year has been much greater in percentage wise than Foursquare. We were talking about that at the last show, is that you expect Foursquare to be at 20 million by the end of this calendar, and if not, then growth is definitely slowed. And if Poynt can double in just over a year, or more than double, triple almost. So
and remember, Poynt has a couple other things in their favor. They've got a couple patents that they were awarded over the last year. We've talked about those. The user base is coming up. So I think there's a lot here. They just need that kind of right kind of marketing now. I think to help grow their base internationally.
Well, I did. Andrew's a very intelligent guy. He talks about this. He's very passionate about the industry. Did a great session with him, and there's a preview of it up on Tether right now, where he talks about the difference between find and search, and it gives a good overview of what business these guys are in.
A great piece you guys did.
All right, so Poynt hits 7 million users. Revenue goes up 158%. That's great. Love it because they're Canadian as well, and they can use all the support we can muster. But 7 million users is a great number. Fifth story: HTC and Chalkboard.
Yeah, so this is not a huge story either, but it's interesting to talk about the concept of a device manufacturer in HTC partnering up with a location-based mobile ad network in Chalkboard, and Chalkboard's got over 4,000 business customers on their system. This is an Android-only device that we're talking about here. So they basically built this little widget on the HTC device. By the way, this deal is only in the Malaysian market at the moment, so we'll see where that goes. Chalkboard's based in Singapore. HTC obviously is in that region as well. So, it's your typical geofencing piece. It's, you subscribe to receive deals as you come inside of a 5-kilometer geofence. The deals are pushed to you. So we'll see where that goes.
So this is an OEM deal, which is that? Do you think, just as an aside, do you think that's the way to win? Is to get these, get this, or is there a way to compete now because of the incumbents?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, as we've talked about, I think the last couple of shows, for me, we're still waiting for the carriers to come into this market in a large way. I mean, Obviously AT&T with shop alerts in the U.S. is playing around with that. O2 and Orange and a bunch of guys in Europe, have been busy. We've talked a lot about NTT, Docomo in Japan, but I think there's still a lot of room for the carriers to really move to offer location-based solutions to their subscriber bases. And I think the easiest way for that to happen is for the device manufacturers to just bake this stuff in. And obviously Poynt is baked into the BlackBerry platform, which is one of the reasons it's growing. And obviously now we're seeing Chalkboard and HTC, and I think we're going to see more and more of these deals. We'll see if Foursquare does something similar.
That's what I was going to say. Is that why wouldn't you just go with Foursquare or one of the leaders right now? Why would you go with somebody who doesn't quite have the install base that and the reach and the brand awareness?
Yeah, and I think it's because part of the hesitation at the moment is that from a carrier perspective, we really haven't figured out what the revenue models and sharing of the dollars is going to be. Yeah. Right. What does that look like? Yeah. Foursquare's out fighting for for every dollar it can get. Carriers are basically saying, look, we do things that are billion-dollar ideas, not million-dollar ideas. So, where's the money for us in this? And I think at the end of the day, that's going to come down to, carriers plus mobile payments, credit card companies and all of that tied together creates enough of an ecosystem.
So I guess just getting in the game is what they're trying to do right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's great. Well, HTC partnering with Chalkboard in Malaysia. And that's an OEM deal, which is, I love OEM deals. They're very difficult to negotiate. They take a long time to do. So good for Chalkboard. See what happens going beyond there. Well, that's it. 5 stories in like 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Done.
All right.
Let's talk about the funding stuff that's happened this week, because small investment, but 2 big announcements this week, I think. But let's start with the small one. LikeALittle.
Yeah, so LikeALittle is interesting. They go by LAL, but it stands for LikeALittle. So this is a service that's been around for a while. It was one of those kind of location-based college dating, flirting type of apps, find people nearby kind of apps. So they raised $5 million, and we keep talking about these guys. It's $5 million from Andreessen Horowitz. These guys are at every deal. They were behind the $50 million into Foursquare last week, and they're in this deal. What's a little bit different about this is they have a new partner on the team over there, and he led this deal. And we'll see where this goes. But
those guys are making a play. Obviously, I mean they've touched everything from mobile game companies to the biggest of the big, and small investments, large investments. But again, it strikes me as that $5 million is a lot of money.
Yeah. So this is Jeff Jordan. Sorry, I couldn't pull the name out of my head for a second. So Jeff Jordan's the new partner, the newest. He's the 5th general partner over at Andreessen now. This is his first deal, $5 million into LikeALittle. And so if you're not familiar with Jeff, was the CEO at OpenTable.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other companies. Does tons of angel investing on his own. So we'll see where this goes.
Well, from $5 million to $100 million, which is what Square closed at a $1 billion valuation.
Yeah, crazy money. And I think that's the theme of what's going on right now. I mean, there's just everybody's looking at IPOs. Everybody's kind of out there raising big money. And I think if you're in the venture capital business, if you're on the Andreessen Horowitz side or Kleiner Perkins or any of these guys, I mean, you're loving this because you don't like doing the $2 million and $5 million deals. You want to do the 10 plus $1 million deals. You want the $100 million deals. It's just you've got all that capital and you gotta deploy it. And you don't want to deploy it in $105 million deals. You want to deploy it in 3 really big ones.
Yeah. Well, so, it provided that they work. I mean, there's the what they call the Mendoza line, right? Out of 10 deals. 2 might succeed, 2 might succeed, 4 die, and 4 are living dead. Something to that extent. 2, 6, and 2, I think, is what it is.
Right.
So,
So yeah, 100 million. This is Kleiner Perkins leading this one at a $1 billion valuation. Yeah.
I don't get that, man. Like maybe I'm missing something with Square. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm missing something. That's a lot of money. That's a big thing. I don't think that this is a play. This is a long-term play.
You know what? It just talks to what we're going to talk to at the end of this is that whole mobile payments ecosystem's heating up. We just talked about it in the carrier space of the carriers are kind of waiting to jump in with 2 feet. And I think it's how all these pieces fit together. So, but anyhow.
So Square raises $100 million on a $1 billion valuation.
Yep.
Big deal. Lots of money going around there. My Big God. Last deal, or the last announcement around the funding side is so goes Facebook, so goes Groupon, so goes LivingSocial, prepping for an IPO.
Yeah, so these guys, you sort of expected it now. Everybody's prepping for an IPO. Everybody's doing an IPO. I personally don't like this one. Just like I didn't like the Groupon one.
No.
They're talking about a valuation between $10 and $15 billion, according to a report from CNBC this week. If you're not familiar with LivingSocial by now, it's your typical daily deal Groupon type of business.
I mean,
the business model is going to struggle. I mean, like Groupon, the margins are disappearing. They're trying to change the model. They're trying to go to location based. I just don't think there's enough there. We talked the other day about what Looped was doing with the reverse Groupon in last week's episode. I just think that there's a lot of players. There's a lot of the only thing that you can do here is continue to grab all the little players. So you need capital to do that. Continue to do the international expansion and kind of buy up companies like Groupon and these guys are doing. But I don't see the sustainability of the business model as it is. It's got to change.
Well, I think that I agree with you. This is incredible. But LivingSocial valued at 10 to 15. Their parent company, who owns them, is Amazon, right? And they're valued in the 60 to 70 to $80 billion range.
Yeah, Amazon put in $175 million, I think, in the last round.
Well, I just think that LivingSocial, not a business model
at a $1 billion valuation.
What's that?
The previous round, Amazon put in $175 million at a $1 billion valuation.
Oh my God.
That was last fall, I think.
Yeah, so it's been less than 9 months, and what we're talking about is that kind of growth. You know what? I'm frightened really right now because LivingSocial and Groupon is not a sustainable business model. We're going to look back in 18 months from now, and we're going to say, "Oh, remember those guys? Whatever happened to them? Oh yeah, 7,000 layoffs. That's what's going to happen to these guys."
Yeah.
Going public with these are bad business basics. You should LivingSocial not profitable. Groupon never profitable. It's the same thing with a lot of these with Pandora, not profitable. It's just bad.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like the capital expenditure side of this, the number of employees these companies have to have in order to get these deals on board. I don't see how you get profitable. But anyways,
wow. Okay, well,
I don't have a problem running these companies.
No, and I like some founders shares to get in and out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. When opportunity knocks, you take the cash, right? But
we'll do it. Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, so LivingSocial preps. I think hopefully the difference here is that whatever comes into that company stays in, unlike Groupon, which 93% of whatever the $1 billion raised was taken out by the founders. They've got their money. Right. That's it. Funding news, just overvalued everywhere, overvaluation everywhere. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully we don't chew on these words in a year or so. Our product, jumping right into the product. Ushahidi.
Yeah, so the product's a quick one. Ushahidi, we've talked about these guys before. It's a Swahili word. I just love these guys because this is open source, create your own Foursquare type of platform. And what's new about it is that before it's the same system that was always available, but basically you had to, like, even though it was open source and available to you, you had to have, have your own servers to run the system on. Now basically they're doing that for you too. So that's the update basically.
I like it.
It's great. I mean, if you're trying to monitor any kind of group of people based on location, Ushahidi came out of crisis mapping. Things like earthquake in Japan, knowing where people were, getting messages out based on location, and now applying that to anything. It could be a political campaign, it could be whatever. And it's just open source, freely available. In the cloud. It's all good.
And it's at Ushahidi. Ushahidi.
Yes. And it's called CrowdMap.
CrowdMap.
The new product is CrowdMap.
Well, I like that. I like when we can follow up on somebody like that, especially a little known group like Ushahidi. I like it.
There you go.
All right, now this is our last piece, which is the resource of the week, which is the Juniper Research, the mobile payments marketing and the industry. This is a pretty well, I mean, it's to be expected, the growth that we're seeing in mobile payments and mobile transactions, and they use that number 2015 again, because everybody loves 2015. I love somebody to come out with like 2014 predictions or 2016 predictions. I see an opportunity there, but until then,
you always got to go for the odd numbers.
2015. By 2015, but it sounds better than 2016. You're right, I guess.
So Juniper Research, we've talked a couple times now on this session about the importance of mobile payments and that heating up. And so the data, just a couple highlights: 2.5 billion wireless subscribers are expected to use mobile payment services by 2015. That's in the U.S. and U.K. A 40% growth rate from 1.8 billion projected users this year. So significant numbers. And then just to layer on top of that, PayPal also came out with a study that says they project $3 billion in mobile payments this year. So significant numbers all around, whether you're looking at PayPal numbers or you're looking at the Juniper Research here that's talking about 2.5 billion subscribers by 2015.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
They're talking about those kind of transactions. I mean, have you ever bought anything mobile? Have you ever bought anything through your device?
Nothing other than like music and stuff.
Yeah, and I wonder what they include in that, because I'm deeply entrenched in the mobile industry. You're deeply entrenched in the location and mobile space, and so I hang around with a bunch of people, and I ask each one of them. I say, like, have you ever purchased anything mobile based? Standing in a store buying something with a QR code or a scanner like that. And they're like, nah, never. So I mean, if I ask 100 people. And 99 of them are going to say no. So who's buying, and what are they putting into these numbers? Because I don't know where that's coming from.
Right.
Well,
when you look at the grand scheme of things, 2.5 billion people globally. I don't know. It's possible. It's conceivable.
Well, yeah, I think it is, because we're talking about the technology that enables this, and they'll have the ability to do it, and maybe they don't even know that they're doing it. Is a virtual good purchased through my phone? Like, if I send you virtual flowers from Facebook, is that considered a mobile transaction?
Yeah. Again, I don't know what data, like how they slice that pie, but anyways, interesting numbers. Take a look at it. Juniper Research. We'll put a link up to that as well.
Well, it's good. Certainly that this is. We know it's growing. We just need a little bit more clarification. If everybody out there understands this and wants to fill us in about how what is considered a mobile payment, flip us a note, untether@gmail.com, or you can reach Asif at thelbma.com, and we'll try to we'll include it in next week's episode about anybody who's clean who can clarify this for us. That's it. I mean, what did we cruise through that? I think we talked at like 70 miles an hour there.
Hey.
Just to get this through, trying to condense this a little bit, make sure that we actually allow you to get this in during your commute. Sometimes we go into deeper discussion, but obviously today we've managed to get it through in like 33 or 34 minutes. I'm impressed. Without editing.
There you go.
So let's just...
Anyways, a lot covered, and I think it's going to be another busy week. A lot of 4th of July stuff going on, and I think we'll have a lot to talk about next week. But anyhow, if you're in the U.S., happy 4th of July weekend. If you're in Canada, happy Canada Day. already happened, but happy Canada Day.
That's right.
And absolutely, enjoy the long weekend.
So that's great. Yeah, I double that. Is that go and enjoy, but enjoy it responsibly. You can reach Asif at thelbma.com or at thelbma on Twitter, or at Asif Arkan on Twitter. That's his personal account. Or you can reach him by email at asif@thelbma.com. Lots of the LBMA in there. And of course, you can reach me at untether.tv or at Rob Woodbridge or untether@gmail.com. If you have any comments, suggestions, criticisms, ideas, companies that you'd like to see covered here, we'd love to hear from you. We love that you're stuck around for this episode. We love that you picked this up on Independence Day if you're in the States, kicking back and enjoying your holiday. We'd love to hear some feedback from you. Until next week, where we'll do episode number 33 next Sunday, my name is Rob Woodbridge, and on behalf of Asif Khan, thank you guys. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thanks.
See you later.
Yeah, bye.